garage is near enough done in terms of brickwork, and roof is on now. And then basically what we're going to do is we're going to look at landscaping back to the existing ground level. Now the garage was dug in because the site itself falls like that. There's about 500 mil over the back of the garage to the end of the house. So we dug it into the bank, so we sat it a little bit lower on the site. But you can see there's a bit of a difference in ground level, and we just rise quite rapidly up toward the boundary point. What I want to do out here is out the back of the garage, because the sun from about lunchtime onwards is all this end. I want to put some nice raised flower borders in here, or vegetable borders. So we're going to put a couple of raised borders, so we need to put a foot in first because I want them built out of brick to be in keeping with the rest. So at the moment we're just taking off the topsoil. Once we got down to the clay, we'll check the levels, we'll whip the clay off, put a bit of stone in, put the footings in, and then we can build the walls up. And then on the inside of them walls, what we'll do is we'll line them so that we're not getting the damp and the wet coming through the soil, and obviously making all the bricks look damp and wet on the outside. So roughly there's 2 raised borders about 20-25 foot long to go in here, and then after that we'll then landscape back up to the existing ground levels over to where all my trees are. So our ground conditions here are quite heavy clay, and it's quite a wet site as well actually. Although this is the highest part of our site, it is still quite wet. This is real boggy in the winter months. Now quite interestingly here we've come across an old land drain, which basically is an old clay pipe. So they come in sections of about a foot long, and what they used to do is just literally put them in maybe a foot or so below the surface, and it would be in like there'll be a series of them that run down the site parallel, and there may be some in places like herringbone, and there's no holes in these pipes, but they were just loosely put in so that they were butt up like that. And then in the middle, obviously the hole of the pipe, it was easier for the water to travel down that to wherever it was going. So you'll probably see here, if we just dig that out a little bit, so obviously we broke it with the digger, but you can see there that it would have been full of clay as well, soil, but that effectively would have been a pipe, I don't know, about a 2-3 inch diameter, just laid in, and then the water would seep through all of these joints between the pipe there and cart it off down the side. So I should imagine as we found one there, there'll probably be periodically other ones as we go across the site. Now what we don't want to do is we don't want to put my nice patio and everything down and then have all of that water washing in and onto the area where my patio and everything is. So what we'll do is we'll put a drain all the way around the edge of the site now, and we'll pick up each one of these. So whatever water is coming down to them, then it'll be picked up by our new drain, and we'll get rid of it off around the outside, and then this area will have its own drainage plan anyway. We're just rerouting it. That's the back end of the house with the bifold doors that are going on, and that's going to be the kitchen dining room in there. Then we've got a patio then that's going to go here outside. Again, this is the area at the end of the house that gets all the sun. So we'll get a patio put in here, but then our site is a really windy site. There's nothing to break the wind at all. It's all constantly coming this way. So I wanted somewhere where we could sit slightly out the wind. So after looking on certain platforms, I come across one of these, and we decided to make it our own design and build it up. So what we've done is we've done like a sunken garden idea. What I thought was I wanted it to be in keeping with the house, so I wanted it to be brick round, and then basically sat down in here, and then what we'll do is we'll put a little fire pit in the bottom. So one of the key things when you're doing something like this, if you're deciding or if you're thinking about it, is to get the drainage right, because this is so much lower than the main ground level. What you don't want to do is it to become a pond effectively where everything drains into. So we started out, we dug a great big ginormous hole. We then put the drainage in. So we've got a pipe that runs from corner to corner in here, and we've got 3 outlets, and it goes off, and then effectively we've got to dig a really deep trench to get rid of it to the lower part of the site. So we've got the drainage in, then we cast a concrete slab on the base, which has got a visqueen layer, which is this stuff, and that visqueen we left long and we left up the sides. And then what we basically did then is we built the walls. So we started off with trench block, So we put 2 trench blocks in, which gets you roughly, by the time I've put a casting slab on the top, that is going to be perfect height to sit down on. And then top of the wall will also have a little slab on the top. So again, you're down, tucked in, out the wind, out the way. Like I say, all the wind on this site comes straight over. So, okay, it might blow the hair on the top of my head when I'm sat here, but apart from that, it's not going to be too bad. Then I wanted it a little bit slightly different. So I've had a pillar stone effectively put in the middle. I'm going to have a higher raised slab on there. So again, if you imagine you sat here now, that's slightly raised. You've got somewhere to put your glass of wine or your beer or whatever you're doing. And then we built the steps that side out of trench block again. So again, I wanted it a nice steady rise up and out. So if you have a look, so again, each one of these then will have the same material as whatever the patio is going to be. So let's say it's a slab for argument's sake, there'll be a slab on there, one on there, and then this will be faced up in brick. So it'll look like that. It's been particularly wet, so they're a bit green at the moment, and then you'll be up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and onto the patio level now, which is pretty much the same level as the house. We'll have obviously the slabs coming down as the steps with the brick backstop, and then the bottom of here, this will all be paved through. So all of these grid tops that you can see, none of them will actually be on show, where they'll be like hidden. So all the water will drain off around the edges and go down, and off they go off the site. So that'll be paved across the top, so it'll be nice just as the patio is up there. And then in the centre here, I want to build a brick built fire pit. So again, you can just have a nice little fire in the middle. You can sit down here fairly chilled out, and hopefully at some point we'll have a TV or something up there where we can see it. So I'm also going to put some lighting around it as well. So if I take that as an example, where that slab comes through there, that's going to have a slight projection giving you a shadow line underneath, and then I'll probably put some LED strip under there which will just low light and wash that quite nicely with a warm light. And then I might bang a few speakers in here as well and connect it all up to the same system as the house. So obviously if you're outside or you're inside or whatever, you have friends round, we've got the sound system that works as well. So when I say about we tanked it, we put the visqueen all the way around the edge, and then before we backfilled it, what we did is we put a land drain all the way around, and we backfilled it with pea gravel, so it acts as like a French drain all the way around, so any water coming through the ground is picked up before it gets to this, and then this visqueen is a last resort to stop it sort of soaking into the brickwork and making it all damp and mouldy. That pipe actually coming out the ground there is the end of the pipe that's running through the underside of all of this, and I've left that long like that because that's going to pick up the surface water from the patio area, so should all look quite good. This will all get cut off level or lower than the ground level on the outside and landscaped back too nicely. A nice little border around the edge and it's done. So that's the last of the bits of the house build for this week. Come back to the house build in a couple of weeks time probably. Tuesday we'll come to you next with the remainder of the groundworks on the big site that's been done, and we'll probably try and show you a little bit as well of the drawing package of that first building as it's being drawn, so that you can sort of get to grips a little bit there with what we do with the information we've received from site. So that'll be quite interesting. Today is quite an important day for us, as I said the other day. This is our 12th year of manufacturing buildings. So we've had a lunch today, which I've eaten way too much, and I feel all snoozy this afternoon, so I'm going to clock off now and have a bit of an afternoon nap while there's no one around. If you like what you've seen though, please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and we'll catch up with you on Tuesday. Cheers.